not knowing he would be their father. Widow's kids saved a cowboy from a snowstorm. The wind was loud and wild, moving across the open land like a hungry animal. Snow covered everything, trees, ground, and sky. It was hard to see anything clearly. The world had turned white and cold. Nathan Cole pulled his coat tighter around his body. His hands were stiff from the cold, and his fingers could barely hold the reins. He had been riding for hours, maybe longer, but now he wasn't sure where he was. His horse was tired. It moved slowly, each step heavy and weak. Its breath came out in white clouds, and its legs shook with every step. "We just need to keep going," Nathan said softly, though his voice was almost lost in the wind. Nathan was a cowboy who had spent most of his life on the road. He was used to hard days and long nights. He had faced danger before, wild animals, rough men, and bad weather. But this storm felt different. It felt stronger than him. He tried to look ahead, but all he could see was snow flying into his face. The trail was gone. There were no tracks, no signs, nothing to guide him. For a moment, he thought about stopping, just resting for a little while. But he knew that was a bad idea. In weather like this, stopping could mean never getting up again. Still, his body was getting weaker. His horse suddenly stumbled. Nathan tried to hold on, but the animal collapsed under him. He fell hard onto the frozen ground. Pain shot through his side, making it hard to breathe. "Easy, easy," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to the horse or himself. The horse didn't move much. It lay there, breathing slowly, too tired to stand. Nathan pushed himself up, but his legs felt heavy. The cold had entered his bones. His head felt light, and his vision started to blur. He looked around again, nothing but white. The wind grew louder, and the cold felt sharper. It cut through his coat like it wasn't even there. Nathan took a few slow steps, leaving the horse behind. Each step felt harder than the last. His boots sank into the snow, and his body leaned forward as if it might fall at any moment. He knew what was happening. He had seen it before. Men caught in storms like this didn't always make it. First, they felt tired. Then they felt warm, even in the cold. Then they lay down, and never got back up. Nathan shook his head, trying to stay awake. "Not like this," he said under his breath. He kept walking, though he didn't know where he was going. Then, through the storm, he saw something. A small light. At first, he thought he was imagining it. The snow played tricks on the eyes, but the light stayed there, soft and steady. A lantern. Hope filled his chest, but his body didn't respond the way he wanted. He tried to move faster, but his legs were too weak. "Hey!" he tried to shout, but his voice came out low and broken. He took another step, and then everything went dark. Not far from where Nathan had fallen, a small wooden house stood in the middle of the land. It was simple but strong, built to survive storms like this. Inside, a fire burned in the fireplace. The warm light filled the room, and the sound of the wind outside seemed a little quieter. Near the door, two children stood looking out through a small window. "I can't see anything," said Eli, the older one. He was about 10 years old, with serious eyes and a careful way of speaking. His younger sister, Rose, stood beside him. She was smaller, but her eyes were bright and full of energy. "I saw something," she said. "Out there." Eli frowned. "It's just snow. No one would be outside in this storm." Rose shook her head. "No, I saw a light, and something on the ground." Eli looked again, trying to see what she meant. At first, he saw nothing. But then, for just a second, he noticed a shape in the snow. Something, or someone, was out there. "We should tell Ma," he said. But Rose was already moving toward the door. "Wait!" Eli called, but she had already opened it. The wind rushed inside, cold and strong. Snow flew into the room. Eli quickly followed her. "You shouldn't go out!" But Rose didn't stop. They stepped into the storm together, holding on to each other so they wouldn't get lost. The cold hit them hard, but they kept moving toward the shape in the snow. After a few moments, they reached it. It was a man. He was lying still, covered in snow, his face pale and cold. "He's alive?" Rose asked, her voice shaking. Eli knelt down and touched the man's shoulder. "I think so, but not for long." They looked at each other. They knew they had to act fast. "Help me," Eli said. Together, the two children grabbed the man and started pulling him toward the house. It was hard. He was heavy, and the wind pushed against them, but they didn't stop. Step by step, they dragged him through the snow. They didn't know his name. They didn't know his story. They didn't know that this man would soon become the most important part of their lives. All they knew was one simple thing. If they didn't save him now, he would die in the storm. The fire burned softly inside the small wooden house. Its warm light filled the room and pushed away the cold that tried to enter from outside. The storm was still strong, but inside, there was safety. Nathan Cole lay on a simple bed near the fire. His clothes had been changed, and thick blankets covered him. His face still looked pale, but his breathing was steady now. Sarah moved quietly around the room. She added more wood to the fire and checked Nathan's forehead with her hand. "He's still cold," she said softly. Eli stood nearby, watching carefully. "Is he going to wake up?" "I hope so," Sarah replied. "You both did the right thing bringing him in." Rose smiled a little, but she still looked worried. "He looked like he was sleeping in the snow, like he didn't even know it was cold." Sarah nodded slowly. "That's what happens sometimes. The cold makes people tired. Too tired." Rose moved closer to the bed and looked at Nathan's face. "He doesn't look bad," she said. "Just tired." Eli crossed his arms. "He's a cowboy. Look at his boots. And his coat." Sarah noticed that too. His coat was worn but strong. His boots had seen many long roads. There was a quiet strength about him, even now. "Maybe he was traveling," Eli said. "Or lost," Rose added. "Both," Sarah said gently. The room grew quiet. The only sounds were the fire and the wind outside. Hours passed. The storm slowly became weaker, and the night grew calm. Inside, the warmth stayed strong. Nathan began to move. At first, it was small, just a slight shift of his hand. Then, his eyes slowly opened. Everything looked blurry. The light from the fire hurt his eyes at first. He blinked several times, trying to understand where he was. "You're awake," a calm voice said. Nathan turned his head slowly. Sarah stood a few steps away, watching him closely. For a moment, Nathan didn't speak. He looked around the room, confused. "Where?" he tried to say, but his voice was weak. "You're safe," Sarah said. "My children found you outside. You were caught in the storm." Nathan tried to sit up, but pain hit his side. He stopped and let out a quiet breath. "Easy," Sarah said, stepping closer. "You're not fully recovered yet." Nathan looked at her again, then at the fire, then at the ceiling. "I remember the storm," he said slowly. "I thought that was it." Eli and Rose quickly came closer when they heard his voice. "We brought you in," Rose said with a small smile. Nathan looked at them, surprised. "You did?" Eli nodded proudly. "You were lying in the snow. We dragged you here." Nathan looked at both of them for a long moment. Something in his expression softened. "Then I owe you both my life," he said quietly. Rose smiled wider. "Ma says you would have frozen if we didn't find you." Sarah gave her a quick look. "Rose." Nathan let out a weak chuckle. "She's probably right." He took a deep breath and rested his head back again. "My name's Nathan," he said after a moment. "Nathan Cole." Sarah paused slightly when she heard the name. It was a small pause, but it was there. "I'm Sarah," she said calmly. "This is Eli and Rose." Nathan nodded slowly. "Thank you, all of you." The next morning, the storm was gone. The sky was clear, and sunlight covered the land. Snow still lay thick on the ground, shining under the bright sky. Inside the house, Nathan was sitting up now. He still looked weak, but better than before. Eli sat near him, asking many questions. "Have you traveled far?" Eli asked. Nathan smiled faintly. "Far enough." "Have you seen big towns?" Eli continued. "A few," Nathan replied. "Any gunfights?" Eli asked with excitement. Sarah looked at him. "Eli?" Nathan laughed softly. "Nothing you need to hear about." Rose sat on the floor, watching them. "Do you have a horse?" she asked. Nathan's expression changed a little. "I did." "What happened to it?" she asked. Nathan looked down for a moment. "It got me as far as it could." Rose didn't fully understand, but she nodded anyway. "You can stay here until you feel better," she said kindly. Nathan looked at her, surprised. "That's generous of you." "She says that to everyone," Eli added. "I do not," Rose said quickly. Sarah watched all of this quietly. Her eyes stayed on Nathan more than the others. There was something about him, something familiar. But she didn't say anything yet. Later that day, Nathan stood near the window looking outside. The land was calm now, peaceful, very different from the night before. "You're thinking about leaving," Sarah said from behind him. Nathan turned slightly. "I can't stay long." "You nearly died out there," she replied. "You should rest more." "I've rested enough," he said. "I don't like staying in one place too long." Sarah studied him carefully. "You always been that way?" Nathan didn't answer right away. "Something like that," he said finally. There was silence between them. Eli and Rose's laughter came from outside as they played in the snow. Nathan listened to it. It felt different, warm. For a moment, he didn't think about the road. He didn't think about leaving. He just stood there, but neither of them knew. This quiet moment was only the beginning of something much deeper. The days passed slowly, but peacefully. Nathan stayed at the house longer than he planned. At first, it was because of his injury. His body was still weak, and Sarah did not allow him to do much work. But as time went on, he started helping around the house. He fixed a broken fence near the barn. He carried water. He cut wood for the fire. Simple things, but they made him feel useful. Eli followed him everywhere. "How do you tie that knot?" Eli asked one morning as Nathan worked with a rope. Nathan smiled. "Like this," he said, showing him step by step. Eli watched carefully, then tried it himself. It wasn't perfect, but he looked proud. "You'll get better," Nathan said. Rose also stayed close, but in her own way. She liked to sit and listen to his stories. "Tell us about the big towns," she said one evening. Nathan leaned back in his chair. "Big towns are loud, lots of people, lots of noise, not like this place." "I like it here," Rose said. Nathan looked around the small house. It was simple, but warm, full of life. "Yeah," he said quietly. "It's a good place." But Sarah still kept her distance. She spoke kindly but carefully. She watched Nathan more than she spoke to him. Sometimes, when he wasn't looking, her eyes stayed on him longer than usual. There was something in her mind, something she was trying to understand. One afternoon, Nathan stood outside near the fence, fixing a loose board. The sun was low, and the cold air felt calm now. Sarah stepped outside slowly. "You've been helping a lot," she said. Nathan nodded. "It's the least I can do." "You don't have to stay," she said. Nathan stopped working for a moment. "I know. But you're still here." Nathan looked at the land ahead. "I guess. I haven't been in a hurry." Sarah crossed her arms slightly. "That's not what you said before." Nathan gave a small smile. "People change their minds." Sarah studied his face carefully. "Or maybe they remember something." Nathan looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Sarah didn't answer right away. Instead, she took a few steps closer. "You said your name is Nathan Cole," she said slowly. "That's right," he replied. Her eyes stayed on him. "Have you ever been here before?" Nathan thought for a moment. "I've passed through many places. Hard to remember all of them." Sarah's voice became firmer. "Think carefully." Nathan looked at her again. Something in her tone felt different now. "Maybe years ago," he said. "I might have passed nearby." Sarah nodded slightly. "About 10 years ago?" Nathan froze for a moment. 10 years. The number stayed in his mind. Then, slowly, something came back to him. A small town, a short stay, a young woman with kind eyes. His expression changed. Sarah saw it clearly. "You remember now," she said. Nathan looked at her more closely. "Wait, Sarah?" She gave a small nod. The air between them became heavy. "I didn't expect to see you again," she said quietly. Nathan stepped back slightly, surprised. I didn't know you were here." "No," she said. "You didn't know a lot of things." Nathan felt something uncomfortable rise inside him. "What do you mean?" Sarah took a deep breath. "I was alone when you left," she said. "And not long after, I wasn't alone anymore." Nathan didn't understand at first. Then his eyes moved toward the house, toward the children, Eli and Rose. The laughter from inside suddenly sounded different. "You're saying—" Nathan's voice became low. Sarah looked straight at him. "They are yours." The words hit him like a heavy blow. Nathan stood still. He didn't speak. He didn't move. His mind tried to catch up with what he had just heard. Eli, Rose, his children. "I didn't know," he said slowly. "I know," Sarah replied. "You were never the kind of man who stayed long enough to find out." Nathan looked down at his hands. They felt heavier now. "I would have," he started, but he didn't finish the sentence. "Would have what?" Sarah asked. "Stayed? Changed?" Nathan had no answer. Silence filled the space between them. Later that evening, Nathan sat alone outside the house. The sky was clear, full of stars. The cold air felt calm, but inside him, everything was unsettled. He could hear Eli and Rose laughing inside. Their voices were light and happy. They didn't know. They had no idea. Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the past clearly now. He had been younger, careless, always moving, never thinking about what he left behind. And now, the past had caught up with him. He looked toward the house again. Eli had his curiosity. Rose had his smile. He hadn't seen it before. But now, he couldn't ignore it. "They're good kids," he said quietly. Sarah, who had come to stand behind him, nodded. "They are." Nathan swallowed slowly. "They deserve better than me." Sarah's voice was calm but strong. "They deserve the truth." Nathan shook his head slightly. "And then what?" "That's your choice," she said. Nathan looked at the ground. For the first time in many years, he didn't know what to do. He had always been a man who moved forward, but now, he had something pulling him back, and he didn't know if he had the courage to face it. That night, Nathan did not sleep. He sat near the fire, staring into the flames as they slowly moved and cracked. The house was quiet now. Eli and Rose were asleep, and Sarah had gone to her room. But Nathan remained there, lost in his thoughts. Everything had changed. Just a few days ago, he was a man riding alone through a storm, thinking only about survival. Now, he was sitting in a warm house, knowing he had children who did not even know who he really was. He ran a hand over his face and let out a slow breath. "I should leave," he whispered to himself. It felt like the easier choice. That was what he had always done. Whenever things got complicated, he moved on. But this time, it wasn't so simple. He thought about Eli's questions, the way the boy followed him around, trying to learn everything. He thought about Rose's smile, how she laughed at his stories. They trusted him, and he had done nothing to earn it. That thought stayed with him all night. Morning came quietly. Soft light entered the house, and the cold air felt fresh but calm. The storm was long gone now, leaving behind a peaceful land. Nathan stood near the door, his coat in his hands. His small bag was ready. He had made his decision. He was leaving. Sarah noticed him right away. "You're going," she said. Nathan nodded slowly. "It's better this way." "Better for who?" she asked. Nathan didn't answer immediately. "For them," he finally said. "They don't need someone like me coming into their lives and turning everything upside down." Sarah stepped closer. "You think leaving won't do that?" Nathan looked at her. "I don't know how to be what they need." "You don't get to decide that alone," Sarah replied. Nathan looked away. Her words were strong, and they stayed in his mind. Before he could say anything else, the door opened. Eli and Rose walked in. "You're leaving?" Eli asked, his voice serious. Nathan looked at him, then at Rose. "Yeah, I think it's time." Rose walked up to him and held his arm. "But you just got better." Nathan gave a small smile. "I can't stay forever." Eli frowned. "Why not?" Nathan didn't have a simple answer. "I've been on the road a long time," he said. "That's just how my life is." Eli looked down, thinking. Rose didn't let go of his arm. "Will you come back?" Nathan paused. That question felt heavier than anything else. "I don't know," he said honestly. Rose's face became a little sad, but she tried to smile anyway. "You should." Nathan looked at her, then at Eli. Then he looked at Sarah. She didn't say anything, but her eyes told him everything. This was his moment. He could walk away, like he always had, or he could stay. Nathan stepped outside. The ground was still covered in snow, shining under the morning sun. The land looked calm, peaceful, like nothing bad had ever happened. He took a few steps forward. His horse was gone. The trail was open. He was free to leave, just like always. But something felt different. He stopped walking. Behind him, he could hear the door open again. Eli and Rose stepped outside, watching him. They didn't say anything. They just stood there, waiting. Nathan looked at them. Then he looked at the open land ahead. For the first time in his life, the road did not feel like freedom. It felt empty. He slowly turned around. Eli's eyes lifted. "You forgot something?" he asked. Nathan shook his head. "No," he said quietly. "I remembered something." He walked back toward them. Rose smiled first. Eli tried not to, but he couldn't hide it. Nathan stopped in front of them. "I don't know how to do this," he said honestly. "Do what?" Eli asked. Nathan took a deep breath. "Stay." There was a small silence. Then Rose spoke in her simple way. You just don't leave. Nathan let out a quiet laugh. It sounded so easy when she said it. Maybe it was. He looked at Sarah, who was standing in the doorway. She gave a small nod, not a full smile. But enough. Enough to show she was willing to give him a chance. Nathan placed his bag down near the door. This time, he didn't pick it back up. I guess I'll stay. For a while, he said. Eli stepped forward. You can help me fix the fence later. Nathan smiled. Yeah, I can do that. Rose hugged him again, quick and tight. I knew you wouldn't leave. Nathan looked down at her, then at Eli, his children. He still didn't know how to tell them the truth. He still didn't know how everything would turn out, but for the first time, he wasn't running. The storm had brought him here, but it was his choice to stay. And as the three of them walked back into the house together, Nathan Cole understood something clearly. Sometimes the hardest road to take was the one that asked you to stop. And the truth about Nathan Cole was still waiting to be uncovered.